So look, I understand that tight end is not a massive need this go around. I get it. Dallas already has two guys coming back. You really could draft another guy, but I'm really looking at it as you really can continue to improve that room. There is no irreplaceable person at that position. And so we're going to talk about three guys in free agency that you could bring in that could possibly contribute with coming into 2022. And, realistically speaking, does the money make sense? We'll talk about all of that. Now, before we do that, if you guys could do me a solid favor, like the video, doesn't take too long to do, and helps the channel out a lot in YouTube's algorithm. On top of that, with recent numbers, there's a 60% chance that you are not subscribed to this channel. If you're not, by all means, make sure to hit that red button and subscribe so you don't miss out on new Dallas Cowboys content when it comes out. And hit that notification bell as well, because if you want to make sure that you get that content when it comes out, make sure you do that, because YouTube has been really weird when it comes to getting the content out. So the biggest elephant in the room that you have to address is Dalton Schultz. What do? Do you cut Jarwin? Is that realistically possible to cut him, give him the money, like all that stuff? Is it possible? Well, not really. The fact is that Dalton Schultz is way out of the Cowboys' price range with what you're looking for. $12.6 million for Dalton Schultz, I believe, is way too high for my liking. And when I say that, I'm not trying to be wishy-washy with that. It's just that when it comes to tight ends, they're kind of similar to running backs. Unless you have like a generational talent at that position, you could just get another one and they'll be just fine, unless they're like absolutely garbage. So, I'm not really that upset if the Cowboys let Schultz walk and you get a comp pick out of it, because, think about it this way. Could you justify paying Dalton Schultz $12.6 million? I don't see it. You have CeeDee Lamb's contract coming up, and you kind of have to figure out whether or not you're going to bring him back, which for me, I would rather throw the money at CeeDee Lamb or figure that than throw it at a tight end where you can replace him. And the problem is that the Cowboys don't have really any other options in the sense of someone that's astronomically better. Blake Jarwin is currently set to have a $5.8 million cap hit. Okay? So you kind of say to yourself, okay, you could cut him and save $1 million, but the biggest problem I have with Blake Jarwin is he's just hurt, and we need these guys to be available. The reason why Dalton Schultz was such a valuable asset was because he was there. He wasn't hurt. He was playing, and he was A-okay. Now, for Sean McEwen, you might have something to where you could replace the Dalton Schultz, but we don't have a large enough sample size to determine that, because listen, Dalton Schultz was getting the bulk of the workload at tight end because he was that reliable guy. But I want to talk about possible targets that the Cowboys could look at realistically, price-wise, would it make sense? We'll go through all that. So to start things off, one of the guys that I'm looking at is O.J. Howard of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was a guy I liked coming out of that 2017 draft class. I really would have liked for the Cowboys to have upgraded at tight end years ago. And, the way you look at it is, what could you realistically pay for O.J. Howard? Now, according to Spot Track, the price point for O.J. Howard is around $2.2 million. Now, you can go round up to $3 million, and you kind of say to yourself, okay, could you realistically justify paying O.J. Howard that kind of money? And for me, yeah, I would definitely look at paying O.J. Howard that kind of money. The main reason he fell out of stock in Tampa Bay was because they brought in a guy like a Rob Gronkowski, and you had a Cameron Brate. So the targets really got taken away from him. When you look at the numbers that he puts up, and you can go look them up yourself, he has Dalton Schultz-esque numbers. And really, once you saw Tom Brady enter that organization, and once you saw, Rob Gronkowski get his fair share of targets, he basically went AWOL. Now, from what I understand, he has been a hurt guy of recent. And hurt guys stay hurt. So for me, I would say that if you can get him on like a 1 year, $2 million contract, because I'm kind of more focused on getting a draft piece if I bring in an O.J. Howard. I think that's realistic, but I would say around maybe 2.5 million for 2 or 3 years. That would be a pretty nice deal there. Then the next guy I'm looking at is Tyler Kroft of the New York Jets. Now, similar to that of a guy in Blake Jarwin and O.J. Howard, Tyler Kroft was hurt guy. He used to play for the Cincinnati Bengals and the Bills, I believe. And the fact is that, look, if you go with this guy, I would say that he's your tight end 3. And you could, again, draft someone to be a long-term starter. Again, when I look at Tyler Kroft, he's a solid option. And again, I want to stress this so that people don't think I'm crazy or I'm trying to be hypocritical. The reason I'm looking at these guys is that these are guys that you could bring in who are solid players if they're healthy. But again, I'm not banking on these guys to be starters. I'm banking on these guys to be someone that can step in here and, just be that guy in that room to be a backup. And I'm not looking at this as you go in free agency, you get your guy. This is you get a guy and you draft someone, which I hope the Cowboys do this go around, because there are plenty of guys that you could get in the early rounds. You've seen me in my mock drafts. I drafted a tight end in the second round, and I've been very high on that. So the final guy on the list would be someone I would consider being a starter, depending on how you view Blake Jarwin, and that is David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns. Now, his market value is set at $6.7 million. And to be honest with you, since you're paying Blake Jarwin as a cap hit at $5.8 million, even if the cap hit was $7 million, could you realistically put David Njoku on this team as a legitimate option? Now, the thing I do like about David Njoku is he is that receiving threat at tight end. His numbers don't really indicate him being one of those top-level guys in the league. However, if you're looking for someone that can step in at that tight end position and be a solid player for you, if you don't believe Jarwin is the guy going forward, Njoku would be that type of guy. You look at his previous 2 seasons, he hasn't started a whole lot of games, and so that really helps lower his price tag down. Last season, 475 yards and 4 touchdowns. Again, tight ends don't get a whole lot of love in the league, especially with all the receivers, but I don't really blame him for that, because you got Baker Mayfield as your quarterback, and he did not play well at all last season. So for me, David Njoku, I think if he goes to a team like the Cowboys or another team that really has a good quarterback that likes going to his tight ends, I think that he would flourish. And I think that Dallas would be one of those teams. So the question then comes, could you justify bringing David Njoku in here as your starter, and now you don't even need to draft the tight end? Now, I would still draft the tight end, but at that point, what my maneuver would be, I would cut Blake Jarwin, bring in David Njoku, and draft someone. That would be probably my maneuver there. So out of the 3 guys, I'm really more so leaning towards just going to a draft pick. So I would probably say go get a guy like O.J. Howard or Tyler Kroft. I'm more so leaning towards O.J. Howard. And you just go draft somebody. But again, I don't want to go on for too long, because this isn't a position group that needs a whole lot of love. And the Cowboys could easily fix this up. So with that being said, guys, who would you like for the Cowboys to go out in this free agency period and grab at tight end? Those are the 3 guys I'm looking at. If you have other guys that you're looking at, put them down in the comment section below. And with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.